Many years ago, in the beautiful village of Bembem, life moved the way it always did, slowly in the morning, loudly in the afternoon, and proudly in the evening. Goats argued with ropes, and women swept their compounds as if dust had offended them personally. At the center of the village stood the palace of King Nnanna, which was wide, painted with red earth and guarded by men whose faces looked as if they had never laughed since childhood. King Nnanna was a man whose cough alone could settle an argument in 3 compounds. He had ruled long, he had fought wars, and he had married enough wives to start a meeting. The king had many children, but the one people talked about the most was Princess Adoma. Princess Adoma was not only beautiful because beauty alone could cause trouble. She carried sense, greeted the elders properly, and walked like someone who remembered that her ancestors were watching. Mothers used Princess Adoma as a reference to their daughters. Look at her, they would say, turning their own daughters by the ear. That is how a child of honor behaves. An old woman once said, if good behavior were vegetable oil, Adoma would fry the whole village. People laughed and they agreed. Inside the palace that morning, Princess Adoma sat on a low stool while her friends decorated her hands with uli. They were excited because today she would marry Prince Ikem of Umudike. The marriage would join 2 strong kingdoms. There would be peace, trade, big celebrations, and plenty of food that would make even enemies forget their grudges. Her friend Ifunaya leaned closer. Princess, after today, you forget us. Adoma laughed. Forget you? Who will still tell me the latest gossip if I forget you? Another girl said, in Umudike, they say their prince is very handsome. Princess Adoma covered her face shyly. I have eyes now. I have seen him. The girl screamed. One of them nearly dropped the woolly. You saw him and you kept quiet? What should I do? Princess Adoma replied. Should I climb a tree and announce it? They all laughed until one of the older women hissed at them to behave like human beings. Outside, the village had turned into a festival. Drummers were at work. Children ran with meat bigger than their mouths. Men who were debtors suddenly wore expensive smiles. Even the sun waited to watch. King Nnanna moved among visitors like a proud farmer during harvest. He greeted the chiefs, accepted blessings, and every few minutes he would say, my daughter has been raised well. He said it so often that people began to nod before he finished talking. Prince Ikem arrived with his people before sunset. He was tall, gentle, and confident. Women smiled in approval, while the men measured him secretly and admitted that he would do. When he greeted Princess Adoma, he bent slightly and said, I am honored. Adoma answered, you are welcome, my prince. The elders smiled. This marriage would be sweet, oh. As night approached, torches were lit and the air became serious in the way tradition likes. It was finally time for the wedding night rituals. Ifunaya held Princess Adoma's hand and said, do not be afraid. I am not afraid, Adoma replied, even though her heart was beating like festival drums. Every bride passed through this path. It was ancient, respected, and confirmed honor. It protected families, so no one joked with it. Ifunaya whispered, we'll wait for you. Adoma nodded. She entered the chamber with dignity, carrying the confidence of her upbringing, the trust of her father, and the love of her people. Outside, the crowd waited in expectation. Some prayed, some adjusted their wrappers, while some simply wanted the moment to pass so that eating would continue. Time stretched and Prince Ikem stood with his uncles. He looked calm, but his fingers betrayed him. They met each other, separated, and met each other again. One elder cleared his throat. It will be well. King Nnanna stared at the door because in that moment, he was not just a king, he was a father. Nobody spoke again. Even the insects respected the silence. When the ritual keeper stepped forward, people leaned with their ears before their bodies. They noticed that his face carried weight, not anger or joy. It was just something harder to understand. He lifted his staff and said, "The ancestors have spoken." The words entered the air like cold water. Then he inhaled and spoke. "The princess." He paused as if the rest of the sentence refused to cooperate. "The princess has failed." For a moment, Bem Bem did not understand English. Failed? What failed? Who failed? Then the meaning landed like thunder. A cry broke from the women. Ah! A man dropped the cup in his hand. It hit the ground and rolled away, confused about life. King Nana blinked once and twice, as if the world would rearrange itself properly. "My daughter?" he asked. The ritual keeper lowered his head. "The signs are clear, my king." Immediately, whispers began to spread fast. "I said it." "She's too quiet. Beauty hides many roads. These palace children, eh?" Some people shook their heads with painful enjoyment. However, Prince Ikem did not move. He looked at the doorway, expecting Princess Adoma to appear laughing, telling them it was a prank, asking why everybody looked like goats in rainfall. But Princess Adoma did not laugh. She came out slowly. Her eyes searched people's faces and she saw fear. She saw accusation. She saw the distance growing like a fence. "My father," she called. King Nana wanted to run to her, to cover her with his robe and to fight the entire village if needed. But tradition stood between them like a stubborn tree. "Adoma," he said. "I did nothing," she whispered. "I swear on my mother's grave, I did nothing." Some women hissed. "Who confesses in public?" one said. Another woman replied, "The text does not lie. She is not pure." Prince Ikem finally found his voice. "Adoma, tell me the truth." Adoma turned to him quickly. "I am telling you the truth. I am yours with honor." Prince Ikem's uncles pulled him back slightly. "Careful," one of them murmured. "A prince must not drown because of love." Prince Ikem looked turned between hearts and tradition. The crowd began to swell forward. Their questions grilled teeth now. How can a king's daughter fail? What example is this? Is Bembem still pure? Each sentence struck King Nana like a stone. He raised his hand for silence. "Enough!" he thundered. The noise reduced, but it did not disappear. He said slowly, "My daughter was raised in this palace, under my eyes, under your eyes. I know her." The ritual keeper answered carefully, "My king, tradition does not hate. Tradition only reveals." Unfortunately, those words hurt more than insults. Adoma felt her knees weaken. Ifunaya tried to move towards her, but some older women held her back. "No," they warned, "do not carry another person's disgrace." Disgrace? The word entered Adoma's ears like poison. She turned again to Prince Ikem and pleaded, "You know me. I am innocent." Prince Ikem swallowed hard. The whole village was watching him. What would he do? He was the future king, the son of warriors, the child of laws. He wanted to believe her, but the fear of being a man who married shame stood behind him like a soldier. He began, but he was lost of words. Adoma understood. She wept bitterly. King Nana closed his eyes. For the first time in his reign, he had no command. Finally, he spoke. "Take my daughter inside." As they led the princess away, she did not fight or scream. She walked like someone living a world she had decorated since birth. The drums remained silent as the celebration had packed its load and left. People began to talk in small groups as they dispersed. "I saw one man greet her last year. All this modern behavior. Who fails the virginity test on her wedding night? She has no right to fail. She's a princess." Prince Ikem remained where he stood. His uncle touched his shoulder and said, "We must think." think? As if love were mathematics. Prince Ikem nodded, but his heart was a stubborn child. It refused instructions. He kept seeing Adoma's face, the shock in her eyes and the way her voice shook, yet refused to break. That was not the face of a liar. That was the face of someone pushed into fire without warning. Around him, the celebration dissolved. He suddenly turned and asked, "Where is she now?" In the inner room, one guard replied, "Is she alone?" The guard nodded. "Yes, my prince." Prince Ikem wanted to go to her. His legs even agreed, but tradition held his ankle. A prince must not appear desperate. A prince must not chase disgrace. A prince must not embarrass the ancestors, they say. There were too many musts, but too little mercy. His uncle spoke again. "Come, let the elders talk." Prince Ikem followed, but every step felt like betrayal. Inside the women's quarters, Princess Adoma sat on the floor. The bridal beads that had once danced proudly on her waist now felt heavy. Her friends stood at a distance, unsure of whether to go confront her or protect themselves. Finally, Ifunanya went in and knelt beside her. "Princess," she whispered. Princess Adoma looked at her. "Did you hear them?" Ifunanya nodded. Princess Adoma laughed hysterically. "They talk as if they were there." One of the older women peeped in and cleared her throat. "My child, sometimes the truth is painful." Princess Adoma turned sharply. "What truth? Tell me what I have done." Well, nobody answered. Then she placed her palm on the ground. "This earth knows me. I have worked carefully all my life." Ifunanya squeezed her hand. "I believe you, my princess." But the other girls moved farther away. Belief was dangerous at this point. Outside, the elders gathered in a hut lit by stubborn lamps. Their faces looked older than their ages. "This matter is heavy," one of them began. "If Umudike hears this, they may call off the marriage," another elder replied. A third elder sighed. "Perhaps it is better that they call it off." King Nana raised his head slowly. "Better for who?" They remained silent because nobody rushed to answer a king who sounded like thunder preparing itself. The ritual keeper sat apart, quiet and serious. He cleaned his staff as if dirt had personally offended him. "Are you sure?" the king asked him. The man did not even shake. "My king, I followed the signs." King Nana's eyes searched his face for doubt, but he found none, and that frightened him the more. Meanwhile, Ifunanya helped Adoma remove her heavy jewelry. "Let them say anything they like. I know you, my princess." Princess Adoma shook her head. But knowing is not enough. She looked towards the knight and asked, "Will Prince Ikem believe me?" Ifunanya wanted to say yes quickly and boldly, like heroines in folktales, but real life did not always cooperate. She only said, I pray he will." Princess Adoma closed her eyes. "I have lost something tonight." "What is that?" Ifunanya asked. "I have lost the way people used to look at me." Outside, Prince Ikem could not sit with the elders any longer. He stood up and said, "I want to see her." Murmurs rose immediately. "It is not proper. Let things cool first. Do not tie yourself to problem." But Prince Ikem faced them and said, "Even if she's guilty, she's still human." No one had prepared themselves for that sentence. His uncle rubbed his forehead and said, "Go, but be careful what you promise." As Prince Ikem walked, servants bowed, yet they watched with hungry curiosity. When he reached the door, he paused. Inside sat the woman he loved. He entered and Princess Adoma looked up. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then finally, Prince Ikem knelt before her and said, "Tell me, should I fight for you?" Tears gathered in Princess Adoma's eyes. "I am innocent," she answered. "If you leave me, you leave the truth." Prince Ikem inhaled deeply, but before he could reply, footsteps approached. A messenger burst in breathlessly. "My prince," he cried, "one of the maids who was sent to escort us, Ifoma, she's missing." Everybody froze. Missing? Prince Ikem repeated. Yes, she was seen near the ritual hut earlier, but now nobody can find her. Princess Adoma and Prince Ikem looked at each other suspiciously. If someone had disappeared, then something had definitely happened. And if something had happened, then the night was not as clean as people wanted it to be. Princess Adoma's heart began to beat differently. Ifeoma, she served in the shrine sometimes. Prince Ikem turned to the messenger and asked, who saw her last? A guard, the messenger replied. He said she was fetching water earlier. After that, nothing. Nothing? The word stood like a wall. Prince Ikem rose to his feet at once. We must find her. From the corner, an elderly woman asked, at this hour? Yes, Prince Ikem answered, at this hour. Princess Adoma stood up too, but two older women quickly blocked her path. Where are you going? To find her, the princess replied. No, they said together, you will stay here. Why? The princess demanded. One woman shifted her wrapper and said, because trouble follows you tonight. Adoma stared at her. She wanted to argue. She wanted to shout. Yet, she saw fear in their faces, not wickedness. People feared being close to scandal because they believed disgrace was contagious in Bembem. Prince Ikem looked at her and promised, don't worry, I will find her. Princess Adoma held his gaze. Please do. He nodded once and then followed the messenger. Outside, the palace had changed. Earlier, it had been dressed for celebration, but now it was suspicion. Prince Ikem moved fast. His uncles tried to follow, but he outran their advice. At the gates of the shrine stood two guards. They bowed, but their faces were troubled. Did you see Ifeoma leave? Prince Ikem asked. No, my prince, one of them replied. We saw her enter with a pot earlier, and she did not come out. We did not see her, they replied. Prince Ikem frowned. You mean she vanished? The guards exchanged looks that did not help. Inside the shrine, the place smelled of herbs, smoke, and history. Prince Ikem stepped in and called, Ifeoma! But no answer came. He moved deeper and saw a pot lay on its side. Water had spilled and dried into the earth like a secret trying to hide itself. Ifeoma! He called again louder, but still nothing came. His uncle finally caught up with him. Prince Ikem, come out! This is not a work for you. Prince Ikem shook his head. No, if something has happened, it concerns me. They searched behind the curtains, beside the carved stools, near the sacred chest, but nobody was there. Prince Ikem's chest tightened. She knew something, he murmured. His uncle did not like that sentence. He warned him, don't jump into conclusions. But Prince Ikem had already jumped inside. Back in the women's quarters, Princess Adoma refused to sit. What if something has happened to her because of me? She asked. Ifnaya held her shoulders. You did nothing wrong. But they will say she got into harm because of my sin. They already say many things, Ifnaya said. Princess Adoma turned towards the door. Every minute felt like a year with bad manners. She was really getting impatient. Outside the shrine, the villagers had gathered and the news moved faster than legs. Who is missing? A maid, oh! Ah, can you see? Bad things have started happening. People loved patterns. They could create them even when none existed. One old man shook his head wisely and said, when smoke rises, fire is not far off. Another one replied, sometimes people blow dust. The argument almost started, but Prince Ikem emerged from the shrine and everyone swallowed their opinions. He looked troubled when he announced, she is not there. A woman covered her mouth. Our ancestors! Prince Ikem raised his hand. No ancestors, please. We'll search for her. He began assigning men to different paths, to the river, to the market road, and to the forest entrance. They all set out and searched for hours, but nobody saw Ifeoma. Instead, they found small things that made the night worse. Her scarf was near a tree. They saw a broken bead and footprints that began ran bravely, then disappeared like cowards. Prince Ikem bent to pick the scarf. He knew the scarf. That was the scarf she wore when she came to escort them. His heart knocked harder. Someone did not want this girl to speak. Or what if the girl herself is hiding something? Inside the palace, the elders received the news with long faces. This matter is growing teeth, one of them muttered. King Nnanna sat heavily and ordered, "Find her alive." Nobody wanted to even imagine the other possibility. Hours later, when Prince Ikem returned, tired, angry, and worried, Princess Adoma rushed towards him. He stopped her halfway, not because he did not want her close, but because too many eyes were watching them. "She has not been found," he said. Princess Adoma felt the ground tilt. Prince Ikem lowered his voice further and said, "But listen to me. This is no longer only about the ritual." The princess searched his face and asked, "Do you believe me?" Prince Ikem looked around, then back at her and nodded. Yes, the word entered her like medicine and tears fell from her eyes. The prince continued, "It seemed as if someone took her, but if someone had taken her, then someone is afraid." Princess Adoma nodded slowly. "The person is afraid of the truth." And then, just before dawn, just when exhaustion had convinced everyone that the night would win, a shout rose from the direction of the old yam barn. "Umu Bembem, come on!" Men ran. Prince Ikem ran, and there behind the structure, tied but alive, lay Ifeoma. Her mouth had been tied, and her eyes were wide with terror that would need many days to live. Prince Ikem quickly knelt, removed her mouth fold, and asked, "Who did this to you?" She tried to speak, but her voice trembled like leaves. I saw," she began. Just then, footsteps approached again from so many people, and Ifeoma looked frightened. She swallowed the rest. "I will talk, but not here." Prince Ikem understood. Whoever had tied her might still be close enough to hear. He helped her stand and ordered, "Take her inside." As they walked back, the sky began to lighten, yet nobody felt relief because morning does not always end secrets. It only gives them better visibility. When Princess Adoma saw Ifeoma alive, gratitude rushed into her face, but fear followed behind it. The girl knew something strong enough to make somebody kidnap her. She tried to move towards her but stopped herself. Too many people were already watching, and sympathy could become evidence in a village that loved quick conclusions. Prince Ikem signaled the guards, "No crowd, take her inside." But crowds in Bembem did not understand that word. They followed like shadows with years. Inside the king's council hut, lamps still burned even though morning had begun outside. The elders sat in a half circle, tired, suspicious, and unwilling to be surprised again. King Nnanna stood when Ifeoma entered. "My daughter, who took you?" The girl trembled. Her eyes moved from face to face. She saw the chiefs. She saw the titled men. She saw people who could end her life with a sentence. Prince Ikem noticed her fear, so he stepped closer to her and encouraged, "Speak, you are under my protection." Some elders did not like how that sounded, but nobody interrupted. Ifeoma swallowed hard and began, "My king, I went to the shrine earlier to prepare water." "Yes," the ritual keeper nodded. "That is normal." She continued, "I saw someone come inside." Momo started. "Who?" the king demanded. Ifeoma closed her eyes as if the answer might slap her. It was Lolo Ezinne." The hut exploded. Lolo Ezinne, the king's senior wife, the mother of Princess Ama. A woman whose smile never traveled without calculation. "She lies!" someone shouted immediately. But Ifeoma rushed on because once courage opens its mouth, it should not close too early. She sent the guards away. She said she wanted to pray for the success of the marriage. The elders looked at one another. Nobody questioned a queen who wanted to pray. "What did she do?" Prince Ikem asked. Ifeoma's fingers tightened around her wrapper. She opened the ritual basket and she changed the clothes. The ritual keeper stood up at once. Impossible! I saw her, Ifeoma cried. She did not know I was behind the curtain at first. King Nana's chest rose and fell slowly. Why did you not speak immediately? She asked. Fear entered the girl's face again. She saw me when she was about to leave. Then later, two men grabbed me near the kitchen. They said if I talked, my mother would die before sunset. Silence dropped like a heavy pot. Prince Ikem felt anger climb him like fire. Where is Lolo Ezinne? He asked. Well, nobody answered because they had just realized she was not present. Outside, the news was already running faster than the truth. The queen did it all. So it is politics. She wanted her daughter to marry the prince. Guards were sent out immediately and they found Lolo Ezinne in her quarters, dressed too carefully for someone whose house was on fire. Her boxes were open as if she was planning to escape. When she was brought before the council, she walked with dignity that almost fooled the air. My husband, she said calmly, what is this insult? King Nana looked at her for a long time. He remembered their shared laughter from many years ago, their shared meals, their children, and trusts. He asked, how long have you hated my daughter? The question surprised her. I hate no one, she replied. Ifeoma shook her head. But you changed the clothes. Lolo Ezinne laughed. It was a beautiful sound, trained and loyal. A maid? She asked. You believe a maid over your wife? Well, she was right about that one thing. Power had weight after all. The elders shifted uneasily. Then Prince Ikem stepped forward and asked, what reason would she have to lie? Lolo Ezinne's eyes moved to him. Greed, she said. Greed makes servants foolish. Prince Ikem did not retreat. And jealousy makes queen dangerous, he added. Everyone gasped because nobody spoke to her like that. King Nana raised his hand. Enough! He turned to the ritual keeper, examined the clothes again. The man hesitated. My king, the rite is complete. Do it, the king repeated. The ritual keeper left and then minutes later, he returned troubled. This is not the temple clothes, he admitted. It is similar but not ours. Everyone froze. The truth had arrived without knocking. Lolo Ezinne saw that she was almost exposed, so she quickly argued, even if I entered, how does that make the princess innocent? Unfortunately, that was a wrong defense. It was too fast and too revealing. Prince Ikem caught it. You have confessed everything, he said. The queen froze. For a moment, she looked like a woman who wished time could reverse. King Nana sat down heavily and asked, why? Lolo Ezinne's shoulders fell. All the years of ambition, fear and calculation poured out of her eyes. Because once she marries him, she said, pointing at Prince Ikem, my daughter becomes nothing. Everyone froze. The truth was ugly, naked and human. All this for position, all this for a chair. The elders whispered among themselves. A suitable punishment had to come because tradition demanded balance. Finally, the oldest man spoke. Lolo Ezinne, you tried to bury the future of the kingdom. You will leave this palace today. Your titles are hereby removed. Lolo Ezinne fell and cried a sharp cry. When Princess Adoma was called in, the crowd outside nearly entered the walls in shame. King Nana stood before his daughter. His tears finally defeated him. Please forgive me, my child, he said. Princess Adoma held him. I understand, she replied, but she would never forget. Prince Ikem approached her next. I should have stood with you faster, he admitted. She looked at him for a long time. You stood, at least. That is what matters. At that moment, the ritual keeper announced publicly that the princess remained pure and cheers broke like rain after drought. The people who had insulted her before now shouted the loudest. Princess Adoma noticed them all. She would always remember. Later, when everywhere was quiet, Prince Ikem asked the question that still waited. Will you still marry me? Princess Adoma looked towards the village, the palace, and the long road of memory. She answered slowly, yes, you didn't abandon me. That evening, the people of Bembem celebrated again and ate without restrictions. Thank you for watching the story. Kindly share your thoughts about the story with me in the comment section. Give the story a thumbs up and share the story out with your loved ones. Subscribe to this channel if you've not done so by now. Until I bring another story your way. Bye!